in the heart of Tanzania, where golden savanna meets rugged cliffs, in the heart of Serengeti National Park, a lion cub named Tamu was born. He was the youngest in his pride, mischievous, boisterous, but not yet aware of the real dangers of the world. Everything was new, interesting, and seemed infinitely kind. He loved chasing butterflies, hunting lizards, climbing fallen trees and diving into bushes to scare his older brothers. His mother, a strong and attentive lioness, was always watching him, but if she turned her back for a moment, Tamu would disappear into the tall grass, bringing with him a cloud of dust and an enthusiastic squeal. One morning, the pride stopped to rest at the foot of the cliffs, where a cool breeze was blowing. The adult lions stretched lazily on the warm rocks. The sun had not yet had time to heat the air, and everything around them was drowsy. Little Tamu saw a rare blue bird in the bushes, flying from branch to branch as if to tease him. He crept up silently and rushed after it, forgetting everything in the world. He rushed forward, laughing inside himself, catching every movement of the bird, until he came to a place where the grass suddenly disappeared, giving way to sharp rocks and steep paths. He stopped with his head up. The cliffs loomed before him, and there was a rumble of wind coming up from the gorges. When he turned around, he saw no mom, no brothers, not even the familiar footprints. He called, meowing, but his voice was lost in the rustle of the wind. Tamu tried to turn back, but instead he took a wrong turn and ended up on a narrow path over a cliff. With each step, the ground beneath his paws became less stable. At one point, a rock slipped out from under his front paw, and the lion cub slid sharply down, hanging on a narrow ledge a few meters from the edge. He clawed desperately at the ground, heart pounding, ears pressed against his head. Tamu screamed, shrill, pitiful, hopeless. He was calling out for his mother, calling for help, not knowing if anyone would hear. Several minutes passed. Time stretched out like an endless shadow. But that same day, by chance or fate, an SUV drove by nearby. Behind the wheel was Kamo, an experienced ranger, a man who had spent more than 20 years protecting the Serengeti and its inhabitants. He was on his way to check the station equipment in the mountains. But as he drove past, he heard a strange high-pitched sound. He stopped the car. He listened. It was quiet at first, but soon a desperate cry, thin, childlike, came to his ears again. Kamau got out and moved toward the sound, cautiously climbing the slope. He saw it almost immediately, a small lion cub hanging from the edge of a cliff, desperately clinging to life. Its fur was dusty, its eyes full of terror. Kamau froze. He knew that any sudden movement would frighten the cub, and it would snap. "Hush, little one. I'm here," he whispered, kneeling down. He began to creep forward, very slowly, avoiding sudden movements. Tamu, sensing his approach, froze. Their eyes met. Human eyes, full of concern, and lion eyes, frightened but not angry. He didn't growl, didn't recoil. He just stared. When Kama was close enough, he held out his hand and said quietly, "Give me your paw. I'll help you." The lion cub stretched out his front paw in hesitation. It was a miracle, a moment of trust between predator and human. Kamo grabbed it, then the other, and with great exertion began to pull the cub to safety. Rocks crumbled. Earth fell on his shoes. But he didn't let go. Finally, with a final tug, he pulled the lion cub to the top. Both collapsed to the ground. Tamu was breathing hard, but he was alive. He didn't run away. He simply walked over, and like a kitten, rubbed his nose in the palm of his rescuer's hand. His eyes shone. There was no fear in them, only a sincere childish thank you. Kamo froze. He felt a pinch in his chest. He smiled and stroked the cub between his ears. "You are brave, very brave," he whispered. He carefully wrapped the lion cub in his jacket and carried it downstairs to the car. Within a few hours they reached the research center, where veterinarians examined Tama, gave him a drink and started looking for his family. 2 days later, The Pride Parade was found. Thanks to radio tags on one of the lionesses, the location was identified. When Tamu's mother was brought into the enclosure, he rushed forward when he saw her. The lioness ran up, sniffed him, licked his muzzle and cuddled with her whole body. The whole pride surrounded the cub, and that day became a celebration of his return. Kamu watched the scene from a distance. He knew not to interfere, but suddenly, in the midst of the hugging and licking, Tamu broke away, walked over to the pen, sat down and looked at the man who stood there for a long time. He bowed his head quietly, putting his muzzle to the ground, as if bowing. It was his way of expressing his gratitude. Kamu raised his hand, waved it slowly, and smiled. The sun, hiding behind the clouds, finally broke through the gray sky. Its rays illuminated the cliffs, the very rocks on the edge of which a small life had once hung in the balance. But it was all behind him now. Sometimes fate tests our strength, both us and those who are weaker. But if someone nearby gives a paw or a hand, a miracle can happen. And perhaps years later, when Tamu is a strong lion, he will see the man on the horizon again and remember of that day, of the rescue, of a friendship that lasted only a few minutes, but stayed forever. If this story touched your heart, put a like, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell so you don't miss new heartwarming wildlife stories. Let's keep the world safe together.